Here are some ideas for stopping or reversing the spending spiral. This isn't about cutting out, it's all about cutting back.
Spending can get out of control quickly, and before you know it, you have no way of getting it under control.
You don't know exactly where the overspending is even happening because you're not sure exactly how much you're spending, which means that it once again spirals into you don't know where to cut back.
If it's time to rein it in, we have some help for you in this video.
You know, it can be as easy as adopting a couple new habits, and that's what we'll talk about in this video.
And these habits will help you see your spending in a different light. If these scenarios are sounding familiar to you and you want to stop the cycle, put a "let's do it" in the comments.
And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that like button for us on this video, will you? But if you don't know us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
And this is Under the Median, where every week we do talk about practical frugality. All right, let's get started. How are you going to stop that cycle of spending?
Well, the first thing I think we need to do is do a little bit of math. We all love math, right? But math doesn't cut corners. It tells us in black and white exactly where we are. There's no faking it.
Part of the problem is that when people overspend, they don't even tend to know that they're overspending because they've not bothered to do the math to extrapolate out for a year what a habit is costing them. They're merely looking at it on a weekly or a monthly basis. Let's do a couple of quick examples. That cable bill, if you're spending $100 a month on a cable bill, then that's $1,200 a year. But let's go a little bit deeper to something that's maybe a little closer to home, a little more familiar to some of you, and that is Starbucks.
Yes, Starbucks can add up once again very quickly on you. And we don't even see the money going when we're spending it. It just seems like the right thing to do at the time. Let's spend $5 or $6 on a latte at Starbucks. But would you add that up over 3 times a week and then that many weeks over a year, then you can see you're really putting quite a bit of money out there on coffee that you don't have to have.
All right, here's the numbers, guys. You ready? All right, anybody else like the iced caramel macchiato? Yeah, okay. All right, it's going to cost you $6 a pop. That's $18 a week if you indulge in those macchiatos.
3 times.
Those lattes 3 times a week. So that's $18 a week. That's $72 a month. And when you take that, multiply it by 12, that's $864 a year. Now, how many of us, when we walk into Starbucks to indulge in that $6 treat, think, I am spending $864? None of us do, and that's why the math is super important.
And that's why I think it really helps to look long-term over a period of time so you can kind of see the impact that that's having on your yearly budget.
All right, here's the second thing that you can do if you're ready to stop the overspending cycle. We've talked about this a little bit on the channel, and that is to do a no-spend period of time. A lot of people do no-spend months. Some people do no-spend month after month after month, or just a no-spend week, maybe once a month. It doesn't matter how you wrap it up. No spend or low spend, those are the words that you're looking for. There are a lot of different derivations of this, but the thing that Larry and I like to do that makes it actually work for us is to make it into a challenge. We are incredibly goal-driven. And if we know that at the end of that no-spend month, we're actually going to bank some extra cash, that is incredibly motivating to us.
I was just going to say motivation. That is motivation.
And so not only might we do a no-spend month, but we might track our savings over that month, and at the end of the month do a woohoo dance because we realize all of a sudden how much extra money that we've been spending that we didn't need to spend. Now, for clarification, when you do a no-spend month, it doesn't mean you go through the month and you spend absolutely no money, because all of us have regular bills that must be paid. This is primarily talking about all of that spending on things that you don't actually need to spend money on. Different kinds of no spend challenges. You can do it. We've had several viewers that said they do like 1 week out of the month where they deliberately say, nope, not going out, not doing anything extra, not spending that extra money. We've done no spend months before, done it a couple of months at a time. The reason they work, by the way, guys, is because they help kind of retrain your brain and make your brain realize how much extra money you've been spending. So it changes your habits.
Exactly.
That is the key to a no spend challenge. You can all do something called the penny challenge. You can do the dollar challenge. We did a video where we talked in depth about 5 different no spend kind of challenges and how they might work for you. Gave you some step-by-step sort of instructions. If you'd like to watch that video, it might be really helpful if you're thinking, ooh, this sounds interesting. I might want to do a no spend challenge. I'll make sure that that video is linked up above and in the description of this video.
The thing that I think of when I think about a no spend month or a week is it's like hitting a big reset button. You're resetting and you're starting over. You know, if your phone gets all messed up or your computer gets messed up, you hit the reset button and it resets all of your settings back to factory standards. And what you're actually doing is you're resetting your habits, as Hope talked about. It's a great way to do kind of a knee-jerk way to change the way that you're spending your money.
All right, y'all excited? You ready for habit number 3? Let's talk about this one.
And number 3 is creating a waiting period. Hope and I have found that if we take some time, we take a goal, we take something that we really think that we want, and we just table it for a while and just let it simmer on the back burner, so to speak. That will help us decide whether that's really an important goal. Do we really need it or want it? Or does it just fade away over time? And if it fades away over time, you save yourself some money by creating that waiting period.
One of the things that might happen, let's say that you're trying some of these 3 initial points that we just made, and you're discovering there are specific areas that you're pinpointing. It's like, oh, holy cow, I didn't realize I was spending that much money on that specific area. Then our 4th point might be super important. And that is when you identify those areas that you're overspending in, see if you can find an alternative. And extra points, ding, ding, you jump up, get the extra points if that alternative is reusable. Let us give you a couple of examples.
Well, one example that I think of right off the bat is a lot of us use bottled water. Now, Hope and I buy bottled water as well, so we're not exempt from this. We keep some in the garage just in case of an emergency where we might need them. But instead of regularly buying bottled water, we have a water purifier that sits in our counter in our kitchen, and we pour water into that, and it has a really good filtration system, and it filters out that water. So it's a reusable system. The filters last about 2 years, and we're not paying a lot of extra money on buying bottled water daily for our consumption.
If you're interested in the water filtration system that we have, by the way, guys, we'll leave a link to it in the description of this video so you can go check it out. Here's another example, paper towels. Now, we've mentioned before, like we get like 1 roll of paper towels a year or something. We keep them on hand in case, I don't know what happens, because they last us forever. We really don't use them. Instead, we take up old clothing, particularly like t-shirts are really great for this.
Old sheets.
Old t-shirts, guys, by the way, if you cut those up into rags, those are perfect for dusting cloths.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, they rock for dusting cloths. So a lot of different uses for old worn out clothing or sheets, pillowcases,
Towels.
things
are
like that
great.
that wear out. They get holes in them. Cut them into squares, fold them neatly, put them in a basket where you can see them, and grab them and use them instead of paper towels.
Number 5 is take the apps off your phone. Hope was going to make a song
I
out
just
of
told
that.
her there should be a song. Take the apps off your phone. I don't know. Think about it. It could be a really cool ditty to help you remember this.
But the point is, if you don't have the app on your phone, you're not going to be tempted to go to that app and look and browse at things that you might buy, whether you need them or not. You don't always have to have that app on there. If that's a source of temptation, remove it.
Speaking of things that are a source of temptation, our next point is stay off Amazon. All right. Even if they're having Amazon Prime, guys, look me deeply into the eyes. Amazon is not your friend if you're in that spiral of overspending. Cut it off, stay away from it until you debrief from the daily Amazon habit. And then you may be able to go back to it later and realize that there are definite boundaries on your spending when it comes to Amazon or whatever that other favorite website is that you have in mind.
You know, a good deal on Amazon is not a good deal for you if it's not a planned purchase.
Yep.
If this isn't something you've budgeted for, you've planned for, you've waited for, and you've researched, then it's not a good thing for you. So it's a good idea to stay off of Amazon unless you have a purpose to be on there. You have a reason and you're looking for an item or you're doing some research, that's fine. But if you have that temptation to want to buy things as they look pretty good on there, then it's good maybe to just stay away from that for a while.
If you're in the habit of over shopping and overextending yourself, shopping with friends, probably not the best thing to do. Find something else to do with your friends other than shop.
There's nothing more powerful than peer pressure. Oh boy.
Shopping for therapy. This is something that I think all of us are guilty of. Look, guys, nothing looks better than a takeout pizza when it's been a really bad, no good, rotten, terrible, no bad, horrible day. Right? I don't think I even said those adjectives in the right order, but you get the idea.
There's a book on that subject.
There is, and it has the adjectives in the correct order. But listen, if you've had one of those days where you're like, it's late, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I just simply can't come up with something off of the top of my head to make for supper, all of a sudden takeout looks really, really good. But true story, guys, this we're going to tell on ourselves. And we haven't done this in a super duper long time, but when the kids were young, we had a little takeout pizza habit.
We did.
And we actually decided we were going to stop the pizza habit. We were going to plan meals more efficiently. And it had been quite a while since we had been in, and we walked in and they had been concerned about us because we hadn't been in to order our pizza for a while. True story. So, I mean, if that happens to you, maybe you've been ordering takeout pizza a little bit too often, but yeah, it happened to us too. All right, this next one is literally our favorite one, and Larry's going to tell you about it.
I think Hope came up with this idea, and that's the 10% challenge. And that's where you sit down with a copy of your budget and you go over it and you look at it with a fine-tooth comb. This doesn't take a lot of time. It takes about maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes in the evening where you sit down and say, where can we cut each category so that when we get a total, we have a total of 10% coming off of that budget. And it's amazing how even when our budget was squeaky tight, we were still able to find areas that we could cut.
I think the thing for us is we thought our budget was squeaky tight. And that's the thing, is you begin to look at expenses and you normalize them in your head. And you start thinking, well, that's just what I have to spend on food. That's just what I have to spend on gas. That's just what I have to spend on my utilities. That's just what I have to spend. And it becomes your norm. But as is the case definitely with us, when we thought that our budget was rock solid, it was tight, we couldn't get any more money off of it, 10% challenge, guys. It really, periodically, we still do this, and it still challenges us to this day to say, wait a minute, we could be doing more. Where are those places in our budget? We call them holes, where money is sifting through little holes, and you don't realize exactly, you don't even know it's sifting out of there because it's such a slow stream coming out of those holes. And all of a sudden, when you do the 10% challenge, you go, wait a minute, oh, look, there's a hole, and there's a hole, and there's a hole. So 10% challenge. We actually, if you're intrigued by this idea, we did a whole video on it where we walked you through the process step by step. And once again, we'll make sure it's linked up above, and we'll put it in the description of this video too.
This is a very important step, number 10, and that's to create spending or saving goals. By creating goals, you now are laying out a plan and a pattern for spending that if you stick to it, you won't get outside of it and be tempted to take a little detour to some other place where you might spend money that you don't have.
Those detours can be very intriguing, but usually they just don't lead to really good places when it comes to your budget, guys. The other thing we'd like to really point out is that one of the things that has helped us really be successful at reaching those goals and keeping them is the fact that we used one another as accountability partners.
Yes.
So we had an agreement that we didn't spend over a certain amount of money without first checking in with the other person, not to get permission, because we are very much an equalitarian marriage, couple.
Exactly.
We believe that each of us has an equal say.
Yeah.
But we wanted to really check in with the other one to say, how are you feeling about this? Because we have this theory that if we're getting ready to make a purchase and we're not in agreement about it, we really don't make that purchase, because we figure if one or the other of us is feeling kind of queasy about it or uneasy about it, usually there's a reason for that we have found over the years. So we don't really make a purchase without checking in with the other one. And the other thing is, we really checked with the other spouse to see, how is our budget doing in this? If I buy this, is it going to totally whack out, XYZ goal that we have coming up? Because usually one or the other of us would remember it. Because here's the truth, guys. All right, flow with me here. Lean in. If you are the one that wants to buy the item, all of a sudden the goals, which were very clear before you wanted to buy the item, become these hazy things in the distance that maybe you even forget that they existed.
We can push them back a little.
Yeah,
we can change them.
I just totally forgot about them. And then you call your partner, and your partner says, wait a minute, weren't we trying to save for XYZ? And it's like, oh yeah, I totally. And it's not on purpose. It's just a fact of human nature that when you really want something,
human nature,
the rest of the stuff that you've really been striving for just sort of fades into the background because you want that thing so bad. So it is kind of a snap back to reality when you have someone to bounce that off of, to say, I'm not asking for permission to spend the money, but I'm asking you how you feel about me spending the money. And if you're seeing like a red flag here, or seeing that this is going to totally screw up some goal that I totally completely forgot about it because I want this really a lot.
Now, I've got to say that having an accountability partner isn't necessarily an easy thing to stick to. But Hope and I want to have that agreement in our marriage. It just works for a better relationship between the two of us. And if we're doing that, then we're going to be hopefully putting a check in our budget so that we're not spending money on things that we probably shouldn't be buying in the first place.
The whole thing is having systems in place.
Yes.
Whether you have an accountability partner or whether you don't, you still have to have systems in place. You still have to have checks and balances that will tell you, do you have the money to spend or do you not have the money to spend? Now, if you want to know all about our checks and balances and have all of the budget worksheets that we have and have our spreadsheets that we use every single month to tally up all of our expenses and to see if we are on track with our savings goals, then we actually put it in a bundle for you of resources, and it is the Frugal Finance Planner bundle. We'll make sure that that bundle, by the way, guys, is listed if you want to grab a copy of it. There'll be a listing for that bundle in the description of this video.
Hope and I recently did a video on daily habits that help you with your finances. And some of the habits I think are a little bit unusual, maybe some things that you haven't thought of. So if you're interested in viewing that video, there's a link for it right over there.
It's just like a daily frugal checklist, guys. You're going to find it helpful.